SwissBorg is the official partner of my channel where you can buy, sell, hold, and more importantly stake your cryptocurrencies. You can even earn yield on your stablecoins. Sign up with my link and you'll earn up to $100 worth of their native token CHSB just for depositing €50 worth of crypto. SwissBorg. Hello everybody, welcome back. So, welcome to Clickbait Central. And the thing is, I'm going to talk to you about the chart, which so far is holding up okay, but then a brief overview of what could happen if, let's just say, other banks start to have issues, right? And there's reason to assume they would. I've seen that the Fed can have an emergency meeting on Monday, for whatever that's worth. I mean, it might be worth something, but, you know, for whatever it's worth. We recognise that that Forex actually closed up, so with the dollar, it showed weakness with the problems with the banks on Friday, right? So this whole weekend's been fraught with FUD, and we've spoken, looked at the USDC and to a small extent BUSD slippage, depegging yesterday. Look, when it comes to this chart, the technical perspective on this chart, it's not bad, but it's also not great. Which is why I said yesterday, you know, if you're looking for long-term investments, these sort of events, even at this stage now, are reasonably good for thinking about buying into dips for long-term, right? So I've got a few things that I've been asked to look at, so I'm just going to present those. It's not that I'm highlighting these as anything special, it's just that I've been asked to do this from a member of the Patreon. So, yeah, just before we look at the chart, and again, it's not good, not bad. It's kind of neither here nor there. But there's you can back both sides of price action at this point. That's okay to say that. But if we continue to have red in the streets throughout next week, right, and we've seen, you know, Silicon Valley Bank obviously now under the control of the US government, so not a good look. If we start to see another one and another one, it could create a cascading effect similar to that of 2008, basically. And the reason for that, in just simple terms, is people want to get their money out because they fear that that might happen to their particular bank. And so they start a bank run. And then when there's a bank run, if these, just like what we saw with FTX to an extent, people want their money. The banks don't have their money on hand right there and then. They have to sell their investments. Whether they're good or bad, they have to sell them, which means either, you know, taking profit on things that haven't matured properly, or taking losses on things that they've been underwater for a long time, just so they can fulfill the requests for withdrawals, and then that causes failures basically, and then the spiraling effect will go from one to the next, to the next, to the next, like some kind of financial virus affecting banks all over the place. That's why I was saying yesterday that, you know, obviously I have money in banks, we all do, but it's also good to have money outside of banks in other areas, you know. And we, obviously you and me, most likely going to have money in a variety of different exchanges, whether it's crypto or stocks, commodities, and general trading exchanges. We got money in ledgers, haven't we? We got money all over the place. I know plenty of people in my Telegram that have been stockpiling for the last couple of years, or probably even longer, gold and silver, physical gold and silver, just in case. So there's always a good reason to not have all your eggs in one basket, that being a bank. But anyway, let's get started on the chart. So that I've just, like I say, that's your FUD. That's your fundamental FUD for this morning. Let's get to the technicals. So, excuse me, got a bit of a croaky throat this morning. So, having this support on your 200 simple moving average, bang, and then another one yesterday is not a bad place to at least see some kind of reaction from. It's also a golden cross retest of simple moving averages. There's your exponentials. We lost that. This is simple moving averages. Okay, textbook golden cross, textbook support, maybe a textbook bounce. We'll see where we go from there. Also, it's not just a daily golden cross retest. It's also a 20 weekly, which again, line in the sand. Are you bullish or bearish? While above, 65% more likely to remain above. When below, 65% more likely to remain below. This wick now currently growing to exceed all others outside of the FTX dump. This is something that we were looking at yesterday.
We weren't quite this high yesterday. We are now higher. So this is a good look for what could be, a giant Captain Noob Master liquidation sell the bottom event, although the bottom in these kind of environments have not yet been made clear. But again, that would be what you look for. We spoke about this when we were, before we received something like this. We said, look, any time to buy a giant, huge, epic, massive red volume signature, especially on a weekly, normally marks a significant low. You see that over here, March crash. See that over here, May crash, Chapoosh. You see it frequently going back in time. Again, this one over here, Kapash, biggest one in history. This one maybe not so much, but again, more volume back in those areas. But yeah, there is reason to assume that we are getting close to, if not a significant liquidation bottom, but we do have to wait for traditional markets to open, because you don't know how banks are going to survive this next week. Who's next on the cards, basically? And with every single bank that goes down, if, let's just say, we're assuming more banks go down, then we see more, withdrawals. We'll see more sale of Bitcoin, because people need their cash, don't they? Excuse me. If you think about Bitcoin as a store of value, which some people choose to interpret it as that, I certainly do. If you think about the Bitcoin that I bought in the last bull market, that means that I'm still like several 100% up, even from back down here, even at the bottom of this the bottom of this bear market. I was still up, still up 300%. That is a decent store of value. You couldn't really ask for much more, could you, in a bank? And so if it really came down to it, and I desperately needed, I could have sold the bottom of the bear market here and still be up close to 400%. Right now, almost up 500%. And I know you'll be thinking, well, hang on a minute, that's 1,500 days, man. I don't want to wait 1,500 days for 500% profit. Oh yeah? Well, then that is a stupid problem for you to fester on. Imagine that. Oh my god, man. 1,500 days. I only made 500%. Right. Just have a little word with yourself. It's pretty sweet. All right? Pretty sweet. So the store of value case is appropriate depending on how long ago you bought it from. Obviously, if I'd bought it at the bottom of the last bull market, the last bear market, right? Or close to, then yeah, store of value for me. If you bought, like Captain Noobmaster might have done, the absolute peak of Bitcoin, then yeah, it's not quite a store of value for you yet, is it really? And probably won't be for quite some time. If you bought the peak of the last bull market prior to this one in 2021, then yeah, you're basically still breaking even. So maybe not quite the store of value for you either. But over time, it could be seen as the store of value. Anyway, I'm not here to say that that's what we're looking at, or it's the hedge of inflation, or whatever you want to pigeonhole Bitcoin into whatever narrative suits you best. You want to be able to withdraw money in times where you need money, because we're not at the stage yet where Bitcoin can be used to buy, your croissant in the morning and, your kids' socks or whatever. You can't quite do that yet. So you do need to actually cash that Bitcoin in for money. So the reason I'm going into all this depth is that if banks go down because of a bank run, Bitcoin is likely to go down also. Despite it's supposed to be a banking for the unbanked, still some people will see it as banking and store of value. And if you can't, and if you need to withdraw value, you need to sell value. You need to sell your Bitcoin, don't you? You need your money, because again, we can't buy croissants and socks yet with Bitcoin. You'll have to have that middleman to sell it. So we'll likely see Bitcoin come down in the face of all of that. However. It would be just like a 2008 collapse if we got that sort of event, and that would normally be an opportunity to buy. Huge catastrophic event like that, marking a significantly oversold zone for everything, is likely the best place to start to pump money in, whether it's stocks or crypto or whatever. And I don't mean harvest your kidneys on eBay to get available capital. I mean, obviously, dollar cost averaging, I put 10% in yesterday to a variety of different alts, well aware that there's likely, or not likely, but a very possible chance of a massive red crash at some point, maybe even tomorrow, right? More than aware of that. But while the technicals still hold at these levels, it's worthy of a dip buy. So, right, I'm just putting it to you there that that technicals still suggest that there is a chance of a V-shaped recovery from here. Again, gold up, the euro dollar up. Those charts working out exactly as expected, but crypto and S&P still not quite looking very happy. So I'm just going to run through these alts, and again, I'm not highlighting these alts as anything that you should particularly buy. They're just for a Patreon member that I got a message to do it for. Right, so Chainlink. Again, these are alts that I do like, and I do hold them all actually, in all fairness. So Chainlink is relatively simple. Sideways AF, right? Sideways AF at support. Not the bottom area of support. That'll be all the way down here, just below $5. If we hit the $5 zone, you really should think about buying Chainlink at any point below there. It'll be an amazing place to say that you got it, because over time, this is a rinse and repeat chart, which has already, I would say, got a market cycle of its own, outperforming Bitcoin for the most part and peaking before the rest of the market peaks. And so with that in mind, you might think, all right, great, we've got a coin here that you can use as an investment and cash out earlier than the rest. For the moment, this looks like the ultimate accumulation, and the lower we go to the bottom of this zone, which is just, like I say, below $5, excellent. There's nothing on this chart right now that suggests we're going to do anything amazing, although we are at a and have tagged these last 2 days in a row historical support, basically being 6, just below 6. We do have a short signal on the itchy cloud on the daily here, so you could think about dollar cost averaging in below 6. So 6, 550, 5, and so on and so on. Dollar cost averaging, I'm saying here, because we are thinking that there is a chance of a horrendous collapse. Right, Atom, more or less the same, way more volatile range, but the low was in down here at 550. The peak, I remember we were trading this all the way up here at 17. Since then, it's basically a lower highs, and we should probably expect it to come back down into the 9s, with or without some kind of crash. However, and again, however, unlike Chainlink, we've not got the itchy cloud signal of short dumping. But I think it's reasonable to assume that if Bitcoin and everyone comes down, we see at least 9, and maybe back down to 7. However, if Bitcoin can remain above 20,000, or should I say that Bollinger Band Center on the weekly, and that 200 simple on the daily, then yeah, we will meander back up. But this is still a series of higher highs and not quite high, lower highs and lower lows. We're not quite in an area where we can say this is getting ready for an uptrend. The fact for this to just start to rally up, we could probably entertain a death cross retest up here around about 1240 at the moment, which is also the historical level of resistance on this short-term time frame part of the pump. So I'm not massively convinced that it will do this, but on the stream on Friday, we did speculate that a lot of these alts can do these ripping moves that would then end in a massive rejection. I think some of these smaller cap alts that we were looking at, did suggest they could do maybe between 20 and 30%, and it's going to require Bitcoin to, hold its ground, which might be difficult with all this destabilization of stable coins. Again, dollar cost averaging into something like Atom from anywhere from, well, I suppose I could say from now really towards 9, which is this major level here. And again, if we do manage to fall back down below all of that, then yeah, I think it would be worthy of buying. Again, this is a decent one to stake as well. SwissBorg have pretty decent staking for Atom, so it's worth thinking about this one for the long term, and the staking rewards are pretty good. ICP, oof, terrible. This one does often respond to signals, but there are no signals here outside of an incoming short signal on the daily here. So we've already broken down from this last major uptrend. We'll be looking to hit around 440, and then from there we'll be looking to probably hit down all the way back down here at 660. But until we get there, we can't really say that that's where we're going. Well, this is a decent support. You can see the relevance to this level here and here. And again, let's face it, we broke out of a giant descending triangle formation here, and we're still above it. So this area is all reasonable for dip buying, I would say. It's not the greatest thing to do. It's reasonable to assume that this is where we could buy dips from. But again, ICP not got a great deal going on the shorter term timeframes. Higher term timeframes have always played a different story. We've had this huge bullish divergence that was playing out on the weekly. You can make the case that this might have already played out in the form of that pump there. The MACD still in a massive accumulation fashion. So I'll be looking for decent things to happen over this in the long term. One of the many coins which I think from here, exactly here, to the next peak will yield a 10x. And again, some people might think, what's a 10x? I don't want 10x, I want a million x. Get a grip of yourself, slap yourself in the face, go wash yourself in some cold water. 1,000%, you do not complain about 1,000%, thank you very much. Right, Algorand breaking down massively now, all the way down to, I would imagine to see all the way back down to 16 cents that would be. Short signal in play, not looking good on this one on the daily. And with that said, there's no reason to be particularly bullish on something like this in the short term. Looks awful. Long term though, very different story. I'm bullish on this from a fundamental perspective, and all of these areas down here should be seen as opportunities for a long term buy and hold and stake. I stake this on Coinbase. People are often asking where I stake these things. This is the only coin I stake on Coinbase. And it's very passive. Do you know what I mean? I basically leave it there, and it stakes. I can sell it whenever I want. I can add more to it whenever I want. I don't need to lock it up consciously. It just stakes. So that's where I stake mine. I know somebody was saying, because I made a video about buy, hold, and stake at some point in the summer, saying this is the thing that we should be thinking about as we get towards the end of this bear market. And someone says, well, you know what? I stake mine in FTX. And I was like, oh, right, okay, because you could stake for higher returns. Ooh, dodged a bullet there. Anyway, so yeah, I'll be looking for this to revisit this lower zone, 16 cents on here. There's no reason to be bullish on this one on the short-term timeframes, and the lower-term timeframes are just giving you opportunity to scrape these significant lows for what I would imagine to at least be a 10, maybe a 20 or more x when this one's finally finished at its next peak, because the fundamentals of this coin do really match higher value. It really does. They're a jack of all trades and a master of several. I think that there's going to be a big move somewhere down the line over the next 3 years, and a sustained one as well, that Algorand can see. You know, there's nothing that they haven't put their mind to and not mastered. So one day, somewhere down the line, we will see a new high on this next portion of the cycle. And if that is the case, from where we are right now, give or take, we're looking for 1,200% to our previous highs. Let's just say we surpass our highs. We will be looking for some serious gains. Now, for me to say, you know, where this is going to go, I'm not one of those YouTubers. It's almost impossible to predict the value of any token. So I'd always be wary and skeptical of people that do say that. I mean, outside of what could be maybe a much larger chart with previous cycle history, it's just huge speculation and massive clickbait. Sometimes I might feel I need to do that, but for the most part, you know, all I would be looking for would be for this to fulfill its previous high and then some. And if that is the case, then you're looking for about a 1,200% move on this from this level, more or less. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there. It's a long video. I appreciate that. I'm sorry for that. The long story short, in summary, sit back, watch, wait as the markets decide. And Forex helps tell a story when we see those open later on tonight. The story being have the Forex market begin to price in the 25 basis point or a pause, or maybe even the lowering of rates to help get over this catastrophe that appears to be rolling down the hill. We don't know, but I think the markets have started to price that in. They previously priced in the 50 basis point. I think now they're trying to price in a 25. But who knows? Emergency meeting. What is going to be the smell of Chairman Powell's fart this week? We don't know. Is it roses or is it, filth? We'll see. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.